Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Save Yourself podcast. This is going to be a solo episode because I've gotten so many requests to go over my head to toe routine for optimal wellness that I thought, why don't I just give it to you straight? Really, really quick tips, things that you can do. I did a version of this at my retreat and people found it maybe the most valuable thing that I did. So I wanted to do it again for you and maybe in a little bit of a different way. So even if you came to the retreat or you've watched the videos, you can watch this also as a supplement. Before I get into it, I wanted to remind you that we are starting the Amy MD Network. So it's amymdnetwork.com, and you can be signed up for about $10 a month to be a part of these live virtual ways for us to connect. And we're basically going to go over a topic and then really going to jump in very quickly to questions. So if you or someone you love or someone you know has a question that needs clarity or just wanted to figure out an answer that you haven't gotten yet, this is the place for you. How awesome is it to have a resource to bounce things off of someone who has a background? And I know the wellness world, the fitness world, nutrition world is so complicated. And there's so many things coming at you. I get hundreds of DMs a day from people who are like, is this true? And, can you tell me the best magnesium for me? Or, what is it that I'm supposed to be doing if I don't have a lot of time? These are the type of questions that I'm going to be answering on the Amy MD Network. So go to amymdnetwork.com. You can check it out. I'm very, very excited to share it with you. What are the other things going on behind the scenes? So we finished the retreat, as you know. We will be putting up some of those behind the scenes videos so that you can check it out and maybe join us next time. I don't know when the next time is going to be, to be honest. It was such a huge undertaking that kind of pausing before we announce a new one, but check it out. And if you got to be a part of it, you are lucky because there's probably not going to be another one for a while. I say that now, but let's see. Let's wait another month before I announce something, hopefully, in the future. And then let's get into it. The things I'm going to cover today are really going to go from head to toe. So what I mean is I'm going to start with the brain and go all the way down to your, not really your feet. There's not many things you can do for wellness for your feet, but really just going to go bam, bam, bam. So first thing is the brain. Okay. The brain is a place that I think everybody has a lot of information about, but if you had to do a few things for your brain, what would they be? And one of the things I always like to talk about is the easiest thing you can do for your brain is go for a walk. For example, a walk 40 minutes 3 times a week grows the hippocampal region of the brain. So you might think, wait, the brain grows until you're 25 or so in males and a little bit younger in females. So how do you even grow the brain after it's reached its full adult size? Well, it is true that you can't really grow the brain after a certain age, but there's certain regions of the brain, and the hippocampus is one of them, that can grow new connections, new neurons. You can have, it's kind of that wisdom part of your brain. And so that's why people who are older, who are very, very intelligent and have had many, many experiences seem to be so wise and so smart because it's that part of their brain that's really grown. And how do you enhance the growth of that? Walking. So walking, it has been seen in multiple studies, but this one actually looked at the length and it was 40 minutes 3 times a week. Now, people have asked me, can you do, 20 minutes 6 times a week, that kind of thing. And I don't think any amount of walking is the wrong amount of walking, but that study did look at older adults and looked at the 40-minute mark 3 times a week. So that's something that you can do to optimize your brain. That is pretty easy. And if you do it in nature, it actually enhances it more. Another thing that you can do for your brain that I've incorporated in my routine is magnesium. People thought it was like 300 processes. It's more like 1,000 processes in the body. There are so many different types of magnesium. What I want to emphasize to you is when I talk about magnesium in the brain, the studies are really looking at dietary magnesium. So 550 milligrams of magnesium in the diet was associated with slower brain aging, meaning that your brain will look younger after 2 years than someone who has not that much magnesium in their diet. And I know a lot of that is, seeds and nuts and leafy greens. Those are some of the things that have high magnesium, even dark chocolate. But you can also take a magnesium supplement. And something that I have done recently over the last couple of years has been to start a magnesium supplement. And that has been really great. I mean, no one needs a supplement, right? If you can get 550 milligrams from your diet, amazing. That's the ideal situation because we know that magnesium can work in many, many different ways, and getting it through food is always, always preferred. But there is a way to get magnesium through supplementations, and there's like a million different types. And if you've seen some of my Instagram, TikToks, you've seen that I've tried to elucidate some of them. So I'll just do that for you very quickly right now. So magnesium glycinate or glycinate, I'm not sure how to say it. So it's magnesium bound to a glycine amino acid that helps it get into the blood-brain barrier, that helps you relax, lowers your cortisol, and really is helpful for the perimenopausal woman who has sleep issues, wants to lower their cortisol, because as you know, in perimenopause, women tend to have higher levels of cortisol and also a lower threshold for stress. So things that didn't stress you out before do now. And so for the women over 35, magnesium glycinate can be a really great thing to take before bed, about 1 to 2 hours before bed. It helps with sleep and also can help you with your cycles and getting your magnesium levels higher, right? And remember, you can't just check magnesium in the blood. That's not a great marker of the intracellular magnesium. There's really no gold standard test for it. So even if your magnesium levels are quote unquote normal on your testing, you could benefit from having more magnesium in your diet. So there's also magnesium threonate. That's a brain health magnesium for cognition and for focus and memory. It's a great one to add. So the problem is that you don't want to add too many supplemental types, so you can rotate through. So I do magnesium glycinate about 200 to 300 milligrams. And then I'll sometimes do a threonate for memory and cognition. And then you can do a magnesium citrate if you'd like for constipation. That's the one I take. I will take if I'm traveling. I don't know about you, but most people will experience some change in their bowel movements when they travel. So magnesium citrate is something I definitely take with me when I travel. So that's the threonate, the citrate, and then of course the glycinate that I talked to you about first. I will tell you that magnesium oxide is one that you may not want to take because it doesn't really get well absorbed. It's one of the ones that doesn't absorb well into the body. It can be used for heartburn. That's the primary use at this time. So that's magnesium oxide. There are so many other types of magnesium that I could get into. I think, there's a taurate and there's so many different types, but I've elucidated that a little bit on my social media. So check it out. But magnesium is something that I think you could easily add to your diet, both through food and through supplementation that can help your brain health. So we're still on the brain. Okay, alcohol. As you may know, the data on alcohol has really changed over the last few years, but that's mostly come from the brain data. So it seems like no amount of regular daily alcohol use is good for brain health. So if you look at even just one drink a night, 1 unit a night over long term, it ages the brain more than those who drink only 2 to 3 times a week. So my take home for you is that if you do have a relationship with alcohol that can be modified, or maybe you want to take a break from it, this is your time. Because to optimize brain health, we really do know that getting less alcohol is best. There is still some controversy around the anti-inflammatory effects, especially the resveratrol that's in wine. But looks like the amount of resveratrol that you would need to get the benefits is great. It's a huge amount. And so you would have to have a lot of red wine to be able to get those benefits. So I recommend that you look at your relationship with alcohol and maybe decrease it to 3 times a week or take a break from it altogether. Not only is it going to help with brain aging, it's also going to help you with anxiety or sleep issues if that's something that you are suffering with. So most people don't know this, but when you drink alcohol, you feel less anxious and less stressed. But when you're not drinking the alcohol, meaning the other 23 hours, your body's getting more wired for stress and anxiety. And as you know, the sleep data is very clear. Alcohol does disturb the sleep even at low levels. And so those are some reasons to maybe take a break or decrease your level of alcohol based on this new data. Omega-3 fatty acids. I have a new mnemonic that I've been sharing about women's health, but it's really for anybody's health, but especially women over the age of 35. It's called Hot and Modern. The Hot and Modern woman does heat therapy, owns their morning, has a tribe. So that's hot. And then modern is magnesium, omega-3, vitamin D. E is the exercise, R is the recovery, and N is nutrition and nature. So the modern part of it is telling you the supplements that I think can be really great for you in menopause or perimenopause or anybody over the age of 35. That includes magnesium, omega-3, and vitamin D, but among other things. But those are the main ones I would start with. So when you master Hot and Modern, you will feel so much better and you will be doing something that is going to extend your life and make it more quality. So Hot and Modern is something you can use as a reminder to yourself about what things you're going to do to optimize your health. Sleep. People who do not get 6 hours or more of sleep have a 55% increase in diabetes, and they tend to have higher BMIs and tend to have multiple medical problems. So I really want you to optimize your sleep because brain health is very connected to sleep. And I think I didn't really respect sleep because I was always in training and we never really thought about sleep as super important, which is strange because we are in medical school. But sleep has been something that I've been obsessed with, let's say. You can ask my family. They are like, they think I'm crazy. But literally earplugs, face mask, cold room, dark, because, even ambient light can disturb your sleep and your sleep waves and your glucose metabolism. So people don't know this, but having a night light or an ambient light in the room is really bad for glucose metabolism and sleep, obviously, sleep quality. So you really want to get a dark room and cold. So sleep is something I think if you're blessed with good sleep, I am so happy for you. I really am. But if you're not, then you might need to be obsessed with sleep like I am and do all the things you need to do sleep hygiene wise to get a good night's sleep, at least a few nights a week. My goal is always to get like 3 nights of good sleep, and that can hold me over. It doesn't have to be every single night, every day. So that's sleep. I think you've heard enough about sleep from all the other things I've talked about and other people have talked about. We have exhaustive data on sleep. Like the jury is not out. It's like slam dunk. That's something that you can do for your brain health and for your overall health. So that's sleep. And then the last one for brain is, I like to call it sky before screens. This is my habit for getting sunlight, okay? Sky before screens, and I think it was like Dr. Huberman who talked about this a long time ago, and then I adopted it. I think it was like a year and a half ago or 2 years, and I'll tell you what I do and how I do it because I think it may be helpful for those of you who may have a similar lifestyle to me. Sky before screens just means that before you dive into your phone and your computer and work, that you get some natural sunlight. And viewing natural sunlight in the morning has multiple benefits, but one of them is that in your retina, there's a direct connection between your retina and your brain that is looking for light, okay? And when you get that natural sunlight, it is direct input to your brain that it's morning. And circadian rhythms, the 24-hour day and night cycles that we have in our bodies, use light as their primary input. They also use temperature and food. So you can definitely, shift your circadian rhythms with other things, but light by far the strongest way to reset your circadian rhythms. And when you give circadian rhythm input to your body works better. So what circadian rhythms are is that everything in your body, I think like over 90% of our body works on a clock, right? Meaning that the brain needs to know when it's time to turn on the executive function, it's time to turn on the attention, the mood centers. And when it gets input from the sun into your retina, it knows to wake up those portions of the brain. That's the easiest way for me to explain it. Whereas, when you get darkness input at night, it knows it's going to work on memory formation, cleanup, that kind of thing, right? So you want circadian rhythm input. And in fact, it's so strong that if you did nothing else for your brain, but you just got some sunlight every morning this week, you're going to notice a difference in your energy levels, in your ability to concentrate and process information. So I'm a big believer, even for teenagers, if you have children or teenagers, college age kids, to actually sync to your circadian rhythms. And it's really hard for these guys because they're indoor a lot. They sleep really late at night. They often get up really late. And getting them to get natural sunlight is often very difficult. And so I really emphasize to my kids and myself to get that morning sunlight. For them, actually, they're lucky. We live in a place where their high school is in an outdoor campus. And so from, 7 a.m. in the morning till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they're constantly sitting outside. And my daughter said they actually sit outside for lunch and snack. And so they get that natural sunlight. And she said, yes, when she's having a hard day, when things aren't going well, when she feels like she can't focus, that little time in the sun really does make a difference. So for you, if you want to optimize your brain health, you want to get that first thing in the morning often. And I'll tell you what I do. So when I wake up, I try not to wake up with an alarm unless I have a very, very, flight to catch, a meeting or whatever. And I try to set it at a time that I know I'll already be up. So for example, if I have an 8 a.m. meeting, I know I'm probably going to be up by 8 a.m., but I just set it at 7:30 just in case. And I usually get up well before the alarm. So that's what I mean by trying not to wake up with an alarm if possible. Because as you know, you have sleep phases and getting up naturally is the best way to do it. And when you sync to circadian rhythms, believe me, your body will start to naturally wake and get sleepy at the same time. And that's been one of the best things I've noticed for my brain health is that I am awake and my body knows that I'm awake. My brain knows that I'm awake and it starts to function in that way. And then about, 12 hours from that time, your brain starts to move into nighttime mode. And I think, and I've talked to the creator of the Whoop band, or she's a scientific advisor, and we were talking about how sleep and wake times, keeping those stable can be one of the best things that you can do for your sleep and your energy. And so, okay, I wake up without an alarm. I look at the phone. So I know I'm talking about sky before screens, but I do look at the phone, the front of the phone. And I look to make sure that there's no text messages that came over overnight that were urgent. Nobody's, needs me immediately. My kids are safe. There's no, one of those skies falling situations. And I always do that because, as a mom, I think we need to know that our kids are safe. And if they need us, that they have a way to get in touch with us. So I look at the screen, but I don't go into Instagram. I don't go into emails, WhatsApp. Like these days, I don't know about you, but these days I am inundated with messages everywhere on every platform. And the last thing that I should be doing is really diving into those first thing in the morning. So I try to look at that front screen, make sure that there's no emergencies, and then I put it away. And that's been the game changer. So I get up, I go to the bathroom, I wash my face, I brush my teeth. And while I'm brushing my teeth, I walk outside. And literally it's a couple minutes and I'm getting direct sunlight. And usually early in the morning, so it's low angle sunlight, and you get in and you're basically done. And if you want to go for a walk later, you can, or if you want to, do something else, you can. But it's really, really a great way to optimize your brain health. So that's one thing that I've found that can be really, really helpful for your attention, your brain health. So that's the head to toe routine for the brain. I feel like I spent a ton of time on the brain, but I wanted to make sure that you got the full info and the full behind the scenes from it. I'm going to maybe turn this into 2 episodes. We'll do the second episode with the rest of the body because we just talked about the brain this time. So the whole point of the optimal head to toe routine is that you want to do the things that really matter. So if you had no time, and like for me, I've been traveling a lot, so sometimes I have very little time in the morning. So what are the things that I'm doing out of the things I talked to you about? I'm probably doing the sky before screens as much as possible. I'm doing the magnesium at night and trying to incorporate it into my diet wherever I go. I am doing the walking wherever I go. I'm doing the decreased alcohol wherever I go. And I'm not as good about the omega-3s. And I said bonus was vitamin D as something for both brain health and for full body health. I'm not as good about taking those when I'm traveling. I think it's fine to take those a few times a week, depending on what your goals are. And then I'm trying to do sky before screens when I go travel or don't have time for a big routine. And if you had only time for one thing, I think getting that morning sunlight is the one thing that's going to change your brain health and your body health. Although all of these things are huge, like walking, especially walking in nature is also another thing. I think if you can incorporate the sunlight and the walking in nature, those two are like game changers. And the rest of them are obviously things that I incorporate in my everyday, but when I'm in a rush, I might not do that. There are some new things that I've been incorporating that I just wanted to mention here. And I have to give a shout out to my really good friend, Todd Stottlemyre. He's also the person that I've created the HHH drink with. If you haven't tried the Happy Healthy Hydration drink, you should try it. But Todd had really explained to me a type of journaling that I do every single morning. And I think that if you want to know more about it, check out the episode with Todd. But I'll tell you in short what it is. And that's something I've really added to improve my mood and brain health is the championship statement. And, he can tell you the whole story, but the short story is in the morning, after I've done my sunlight and before I dive into my phone, I write out my championship statement. This is a statement of what my life would look like if I'm able to achieve all my goals. And I'll be clear with you. I don't put numbers or specific like colleges my kids are going to or like specific outcomes like I have this house down that down the street because honestly, we don't know if that house is right for us. We don't know if that college would be right for our kids. You don't know if that number that you put out there is the right number. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less that makes you really happy. But what you want with the championship statement is to write it as if the things you want have already happened. And I think it's a great way to frame the day and get your mindset in the right place and always looking back at the big picture. What is the real goal? What's your goal with your health? What's your goal with your family? What's the goal with your business? What's the goal with your personal goals? And really get that to focus first thing in the morning before you kind of go off in the day. And for me, as my life has become more busy and destabilized, this has been really, really key in keeping myself centered. And the days that I do the sunlight, the championship statement, and all of the routine that I told you here, I mean, those days, night and day difference between that and a day that I didn't get to do some of this. So wanted to share this with you because I thought that this could be a nice way for you to optimize your health. Our next episode, so I'm going to split it into two just for convenience sake, is going to be about the rest of the body, the optimal routine for wellness part 2. So this was part 1, talking more about the brain, and then we're going to do a part 2. So thanks so much for listening and watching. I so appreciate you. The reason I do this is because I know you have gifts inside of you and I want you to attain them. And by telling you about how to find and discover your own gifts, I know that this can be the best years of your life. So thanks for listening. Until next time.